Hi, this is James with Geeks with a Dream and my brother Brandon. Today we're doing a Halloween challenge. We've all built decks around, you guessed it, Halloween. All of the creatures, all of the spells have to be Halloween oriented with a specific creature type, as in zombies, werewolves, ghosts, ghouls, spirits. Today, Brandon has picked, what have you picked today?
Today I have picked spirits as my archetype for Magic the Gathering.
Now, I see here, looking at the deck, that you have more of a slow-rolling control style deck. Why have you picked that today in such a particular draft style?
Well, it's how I like it. To just kick them in the face, destroy all the creatures, and make them cry home to their mom.
Alright. Well, let's move on to a little bit more detail. I know that we just went out of one of our friends' collections, and we all had to build decks from that. Now, idealistically, you don't have the best or rarest cards available to you, of course, because it's just what he brought over for our weekend hangout. From going from that selection of cards, which you've seen in the frame before this, we all sat down and broke through the cards. First come, first serve. So, of course, there was no coordination of colors, matching, assistance, or anything like that. The only thing that was preordained beforehand was the rules, which we'll also post beforehand, and the selection of the Halloween-style decks. So, before going through and pulling anything out, Brandon, of course, selected spirits. So, just with only that knowledge, he had to build the entire deck. Let's go ahead and just start off here. What is the first card we have?
Austere command. It is, like modern players would know, cryptic command. You get to pick two choices. It basically uses Chroma's Vengeance. It can either destroy creatures with convert mana cost 4 or higher, or convert mana cost 3 or lower, all enchantments or all artifacts.
Okay, and moving on, what's our next card we have today?
Oust. It is a nice creature removal spell, and it not only does it remove the creature, it actually puts them on top of the deck. Not the first card, the second card.
Now, is there a main reason that you've used something to that instead of like an unsummon?
Yes, because A, it slows down when they will actually get that threat, which will buy me some time to mill it off, or to actually just buy my time to get a counterspell.
And of course our next card is Brainstorm, self-explanatory. Any good control deck runs Brainstorm. Okay card by me. Next we have Terminus. I don't know if you guys have been up to date or not, but it is a card who just currently rotated out of standard block. It has the miracle effect. 4 mana, 2 white. You can hard cast it. It puts all creature cards on the bottom of all libraries. Or, if you top deck it, you can reveal it and cast it for its miracle cost. Brandon, what's our next card after Terminus we have today?
We have Orion Charm. It is a card that I put in just for the aggro and mid-range decks to take care of their creatures. Put them on top, or just draw me a card with a cantrip, or, if I'm swinging with my few creatures, give them lifelink.
Okay, moving on, I see that we have Curse of Death's Hold, and you are running 4 of this.
Correct.
Now, with today's matches that are going to be coming up being a 2v2v2, how do you think Curse of Death Hold is going to work for you? Because once you have to try and single out a certain player or a certain grouping, and wouldn't that possibly bring aggression onto you from the other players?
Of course it would. But, well, first of all, it will stop the aggro deck because they usually have 2 2s or 2 1s, so I won't have to worry about them for the rest of the duel. I'll just have to worry about the big fatties for my spot removal and field wipes.
Understandable. Are you concerned about any of the other players knowing that it's a 2v2v2 running any type of enchantment hate?
Oh, of course, I am concerned about it, but as I said with austere command, it will just wipe the field anyway, so I might even wipe out my own enchantments as well.
So you're pretty much like you said, kick them in the face and beat them while they're down.
Yep.
You're hoping that one thing will be able to pull you the answer you need.
Yep.
Kind of a little Hail Mary. Moving on to Lingering Souls. It is a great card, 2 colorless, 1 white, or a flashback for 1 white and 1 black. It gives you 2 1/1 spirit tokens each time you cast it. And with his playing style, like you're saying, being able to wipe the field, just remove things from play, being able to cast a spell wait till your opponent's put on aggression, wiping the field, and then recasting that same card for double value is an extremely great ability. Brandon, what's the next card we have?
My next card is the tutor for the Curse of the Death's Hold. It is very spiritual flavored by casting a curse on them.
Understandable. So what you're saying pretty much is we have something to give us you the ability to go through and try and find some cards to slow down the aggressive decks.
Of course, and if they blow up the Curse of the Death's Hold, I can just put another one on them.
Okay. Moving on to Mana Leak. With it being a slower 2v2v2 format, do you think that just mana leaking someone for that extra little bit of mana cost is actually going to be able to slow them down?
Well, the first one, of course, because they always tap out. Who doesn't tap out? Well, when you're just casting your spells normally, of course you're going to tap it because you want consistency. You want a 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop. If you don't have that, then you're just running maybe like a mid-range style deck. Not really that good.
Okay, and our next card?
Oh, Fire and Ice. This card has more than one use. It can either tap down a creature and draw a card, or burn it. It's really good with the burn because it's unlike a shock. You can separate it by taking out 2 creatures. So basically, it can even stop 3 attackers and draw me a card, just cantripping it off.
Moving on.
Well, Prophetic Bolt. The card deals 4 damage, either to a creature or a player. It can be essentially a win condition itself, and it gets me a card out of it.
Now I see your next card you have is Dream Twist. Why are we starting to move into a mill kind of play style? It really doesn't refresh in your hand, and it's only a one-of. Do you think that card will actually be effective enough?
Of course, because you haven't gone on to it, my deck can actually recycle itself. Dream Twist is a spiritual card. It can take out the card with Ouse or whatever is top of their deck if they're actually manipulating the top of their deck. I have no idea what the other people are playing, so I am just assuming here. But it is with one of my win conditions is to mill them out.
So you're hoping to use it as an interrupt for possibly another player who has built a control style deck to ruin their plans.
Yes, or it just wins me the game. Either way.
Okay, moving on. What do we have today?
Pilfering Plans. It's divination with a little mill on the side.
Once again, going back to that mill Arca style, like you said, trying to have a little control versus control with the 2v2v2. When we did our pairings also, we pulled names from a hat, so there was no way people could build an Arcus type of deck together. So, like he stated before, is he's built this deck entirely on what we've seen so far, the concern that someone else, not knowing their pairing, went for a bold, hard strategy of just being able to lock someone down. Brandon, what's the next card we have today?
Cruel Ultimatum. It is one card that can lock someone down entirely, making them discard cards, sacrifice creatures, and lose life. Which gains me life, returns a creature. Really good card.
Okay, next let's see we have Thought Scour back onto that mill style, but this one actually gives you a little bit of draw. Is there a particular reason we did 4 of this one and only 1 of the Dream Twist?
Yes, it's a cantrip, that's why. Who doesn't like drawing cards?
Okay, moving on. I see you've got a little bit of a mana fixing going on today with Chromatic Lantern.
Yes, Chromatic Lantern makes my lands produce any color I want. So if I'm mana screwed, that's one way to get me out of it. And also kind of pseudo mana ramp to cast one of my 6 or just my 6 or higher spells.
And what's the next card we have?
Oh, Visions of Beyond. It's it's a cantrip, but if you mill enough, it is Ancestral Recall.
And then our next card, of course, is Elixir of Immortality, like you mentioned before. An ability to use some of the mill to recycle it to actually have that as a win condition option, or to be able to consistently shut down a field. This is a card we saw a little bit, actually, in a few top standard decks. It really didn't go too far. The ability for 1 mana to play it, 2 mana to activate, gain 5 life, and shuffle your entire graveyard back into your deck is actually very incredible and something I think is very overlooked. What's your opinion on this card, Brandon?
Well, my opinion, you should never use it in a draft. That's my opinion. Well, it is also barely played. It is, would you rather Well, people usually think about this card as horrible because a 1/1 can block out 5 or more damage if the creature doesn't have trample. But they're forgetting, when you shuffle your deck and your graveyard back together, you're not shuffling mana, so your deck actually becomes more consistent with the cantrips and everything else, and you'll be able to get more removal out of it.
Which things like Sphinx's Revelation and current things, I believe the standing would just be able to peel you so many more reuseful spells.
Correct.
Moving on, what do we have today?
Moving on, we have Lone Revenant, a hexproof 4/4 spirit. He is a powerhouse in this deck. His ability only activates if he is the only creature on my field. As you see, I barely have any creatures, so that's not a problem.
I think we have a whole count of 2 creatures, not counting our Lingering Souls.
Correct. Lone Revenant not only hits for 4 and hexproof, he also actually gives me card advantage from pseudo scrying.
Now I see we have Day of Judgment next to 2 of. So really for field wipe wise, we actually don't have all that much. Are you concerned about that, with that being one of your leading strategies, if you state?
No, it is because it is a slower format. There will be more blocking and everything else, and people will be more concerned. And if I just keep field wiping the field, my friend ally won't have any creatures or anything out as well.
Now, are you concerned about that hindering your ally with possibly being paired up with an aggressive deck, and your amount of field wipe, hoping to protect yourself, will actually come back on you?
No, because if they shut down the aggressive deck, it can just get it a restart by shutting it down by field wiping.
Okay, and the next couple of cards we have?
We have here the Storm Mana Leak. It just copies itself. The more spells they play. It has seen play in High Tide and other Legacy decks. It's a really good card.
And then Grasp of the Phantoms, what does that do today?
What does it do? It puts a creature on top of the deck with flashback. It's a really, really mean spot removal.
Now, why is this a card you chose over perhaps having a 3rd Azorius Charm?
First of all, the flavoring of spirits grabbing the person and tearing them away from their hopeless dreams. But the main reason why is because I did not want to splash more white into the deck. Because it's main blue in the deck, and I could see some problems with just actually getting the white until later in the game.
I see. Speaking of mana terms, we're going to go ahead and move on to your land. We've got a pretty interesting mix here. We have 3 plains, 6 islands, 2 Bolterworks, 3 Guild Gates, 2 Drowned Catacombs, a Forgotten Cave, a Barren Moor, a Seacrum Coast, Azorius Guildgate, 2 swamps, and a Nephilia Drownyard. Now, we've seen Nephilia Drownyard actually recently here in Standard as a way for Esper-style decks to just go ahead and grind out the game. I know with you saying it's a 2v2 format, are you concerned of possibly not having enough black in your deck, or even more of a lack of white? I noticed a couple of your spells, as when we spoke of earlier, ultimatum requires triple black, double blue, and double red to play. I understand that you're trying to get it done by using different styles of mana. That way you have more duels and a better option to get more access to different types of mana. But also with doing so, they have effects as in coming into play tapped and whatnot. Is that something you're hoping to take advantage of with a slower format?
Correct. Well, and also I get some cycle lands to help me if I'm just over mana flooded as well. It kind of hurts just shuffling it back in, but anyways, it's still just a cantrip.
Well, that would also come back to, like you said, the ability to attempt to recycle your own cards.
Yes.
Well, Brad, I'll go ahead and let you get back at it. I know it's going to be a crazy long night. Best of luck to you.
All right. Thank you.